everybody, it's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, November 10th, 2024. Oh, Victor, you shouldn't have. Actually, no, wait, you should have done this in the first place. But thank you. Thank you. It's only a decade overdue, but thank you. Oh, Victor rebuilt the original ranch. Oh my goodness. Y&R has given us the most spectacular gift to celebrate 13,000 episodes. I honestly never would have dreamed this idea to even be on the table, let alone see it come to life. This is just so special. This is such a special week. I mean, the original ranch, it's so iconic. I can't believe it. I'm almost speechless. The thing that brings me out of speechlessness, though, is that I cannot believe that Victor had an entire house constructed on the property without Nikki knowing. But wouldn't you know it, it's on an even more beautiful piece of the property. And Nikki said, "Oh, those trucks." Oh, those trucks you said were doing something for the burger blah blah blah. Oh, now I get it. So surprise, surprise, we are moving. We are moving back to the future. It's actually a really good thing that Nikki wasn't attached to the old new ranch. The one we have now is the new old ranch, but the one we had before was the old new ranch now. And that's a good thing that Nikki didn't want to keep that one, because she has no choice. She's going to be moving. I was half expecting Victor to say that they were just going to burn down the other one. I mean, who needs that now? Plus, I think it would be very fitting. Sharon burned down the original ranch, so Victor should just burn down the rebuild. He said it never really felt right. It never really felt like how I wanted it to be. And it's like, yeah, that's how the viewers felt too. And just by the way, the last ranch that we saw was not the original rebuild either. Original ranch burned down, we got a rebuild, then later they sort of moved into a more interior room within the rebuild, which is the horsey room that we've been seeing in the most recent past. But there was a rebuild before too. So yeah, we had two different scenes within the rebuilded ranch, and now we have the, this wonderful, beautiful new set. Victor offered the old set to Nick, and Nick said no, which I found kind of to be surprising because Nick has no house, and immediately when Victor mentioned it, I thought, oh, well, yeah, that's the perfect place for Nick. Because Victoria's in the tack house, she loves it there, she fits there. How about Nick? But he said no, and then I thought, well, maybe Nick said no because Y&R plans to have Nick living with Sharon soon. I could see him doing that here in the near-ish future. But yeah, then Adam bumbled into that scene and got to feast on the scraps as usual, he gets the leftovers. Nick said, I don't want that house. Why don't you take it, Adam? And I really think this would be wonderful for Adam. I think Adam deserves to have a house. I hope that happens. He didn't say no, so I assume it's on the table. And he can redecorate it. It doesn't have to be the horse house when Adam gets there. Adam can pull down all of the pictures of horses and replace them with pictures of vampires, because we haven't talked about that in a while. We haven't reinforced that in a while, but Adam is a vampire, and I think he should make that place his vampire den. Oh, I am stunned. I'm just stunned. Honestly, I think it's wonderful. I feel like Y&R has heard us say that we love our sets. We love our homes, and I feel like they're responding by giving us homes. It just feels like such a great sign of things to come for Y&R. It feels very hopeful. It feels like a testament to Y&R's strength and their commitment to continuing to not only have the show, but to improve the show. I mean, I really think Y&R is knocking it out of the park this year. Not just the sets, but the plots have been strong. The characters have been strong. So the new ranch, to me, symbolizes the past, but also the present and the future too. Okay, well now let's talk details. Does the new old ranch, the new old ranch, pass the squint test? Because I will say, even though the rebuild has many of the original facets, and so many of the things within it are the same, there are a few things that are different. And in the main room in front, when Nikki and Victor are just sitting on the couch and we're just getting a straight shot of them, when I look at that main room by the couch, I don't think ranch. I mean, just looking at, I mean, if you go to yrchat.com, look at the very last screen cap I put up there for the daily chats. I don't look at that and see the ranch. But it's probably also because it's all new furniture, you know? I mean, so to me, like that, that part doesn't look like the old ranch, because maybe I just associate that main sitting room, the act of sitting and the things around the sitting, with the old furniture. But that being said, to me, I think for me, probably the most iconic parts of the ranch are, well, the staircase. Absolutely. The staircase. And honestly, for the first part of the show, like on Thursday, Nikki and Victor walked in and we saw it, but we didn't get to really explore it. And I kept searching for the staircase. Like, I needed to orient myself to go like, okay, how is this the ranch? And so I kept kind of searching around for that feeling of familiarity, and I couldn't find it until I got to the staircase. Like, that staircase, for some reason, just so much has happened there, and that's visually different. That's the ranch staircase, and so for me, that connected me. And at the bottom of the staircase, by the way, used to be a bar. We saw that in the flashback scene where Victor was dumping out all of Nikki's vodka bottles and yelling at her. And I don't know, maybe Y&R will do something with that area at the bottom of the stairs, but I do think it was a smart move of them to take out the bar, to choose to not add that back into the rebuild, because Nikki's an alcoholic. This was probably Victor's grandest gift to her of all time. And building it back with a bar would have been in bad taste. But that area, instead of like having the bar, seems to now be the front door. Now that is my one rub. The location of the door. Why move the location of the front door? I don't get that, because when I imagine the original ranch, I imagine myself walking through the front door, just like Nikki walked through the front door when Douglas led her to the house for the first time. So the fact that the front door has changed does really mess with the illusion for me. But I'm not complaining. Please don't take that as a complaint, Y&R. I'm just going through my process. Also, at first, I could not find the atrium, the skylight. I was struggling. I was like, where's that at? Because that is the #2 most iconic part of the ranch set to me, the skylight. And I was starting to get nervous that I could see it just at the top, but it wasn't grand. And I'm like, no, I remember that sitting area being all glass and being all beautiful. And I was starting to get really nervous about it, like, this isn't feeling right. But then, oh my gosh, Victor pulled Devon in there to, try to make some peace before announcing that that's going to be the location for Abby and Devon's wedding. And when Victor pulled him in there was a moment where it was just the set, just the atrium set, just the skylight. And I saw it empty and I just melted. It was so like that. I was there. Like when I looked at the staircase, when I looked up the staircase, and when I was in the atrium, I was there. Oh, is that what I should call it though? The atrium? I don't know. What do I call that? What are we going to call that area? Because it's not a sunroom. It's not a porch. So can somebody please help me come up with the right word to call that seating area? Because if you don't, it'll forever be atrium, and I'm not sure that that's correct. But I don't care. That area is so absolutely damn stunning that I teared up. Like the second it was there, it was overwhelming emotion. And I got really great screen cap of it too, even when it was empty, like right before Victor and Devon got in there. So if you want to see that photo, you should go to yrchat.com and just look at it. Because in fact, I got a whole lot of screen caps from the episode, not just the new ranch, but all of the, many, many flashbacks with the old ranch in the background. And I have to say, I really appreciated that touch, and it was totally necessary, because without those flashbacks, I would have had a much, much harder time contextualizing and reconciling the new space, because the new space doesn't feel old. The new space feels new. But watching those flashbacks and looking through my screen caps, I can see that there really are so many details that are identical. The fireplace with the mirror above it, I didn't look at that. I initially thought, did it have a fireplace right there? I don't remember that. And then looking at the flashbacks, oh yeah, it's an identical fireplace, but practically an identical mirror. And then the the cabinet that's sitting right beside it on the wall is exactly the same curio. And then the piano is the same, although I mean, it may be a different piano, I don't know. And I will say, the depth of the set seems to be a little bit different, because in looking through, you know, watching through the flashbacks and looking at my screen caps, the piano used to be way back in the background at the old ranch, and you know how it was back in the day, like everything was shrouded in shadow. Like Y&R today is so much visually brighter, but back in the day it was dark. So there was, you know, so that I think changes the viewer perception a little bit too. I think the fact that the show is brighter gives this version of the ranch a newer feel. But you know, I mean, it's not criticizing, you know, but I'm just kind of trying to give my my honest take on it. I mean, it feels different, but many things feel the same. And all in all, I mean, of course, I'm just so absolutely thrilled, and I'm sure I'll sink into it. You know, it's like an old blanket that you pull out of the closet, and then, you know, you first maybe it's like, I don't no, it's more like you pull out your winter coat or whatever. You pull your winter coat out of the closet. It's your favorite winter coat. You wear it every single winter. You put it on, and at first it's like, this don't feel the same. It feels a little bit tight in some places. But then you wear it out a couple of times, and you're like, oh yeah, no, this is my coat. It's fine. Or shoes, or, you know, your boots, whatever. Insert your cozy item. But that's how it does feel to me. And I'm sure I'll sink into it, but I am thrilled. I honestly cannot believe that this has happened. It's almost too good to be true. But I also kind of really want to know if the new old ranch, if it meets the Y&R Chatter's approval, because I think that's a very important thing to ask this week for a poll question. Do you guys like this new set? Be honest. Did Y&R deliver a hit with this, or was it a miss for you? Maybe there are some criticisms that you have. Maybe there's something that feels off about it. You know, we don't have to love it just because it got done. So I want to see the hard numbers on whether you love it, you feel like it's a total hit, or whether it's a miss. So yrchat.com is where you can cast your vote about that. And don't forget to look at all of the beautiful screen caps that are there, because I got some oldies and I got some newies, and they really are all fantastic. And all that aside, I cannot wait to see the place decked out for episode 13,000, Abby and Devon's wedding. Question: did Sharon ever get officially caught and in trouble for burning down the original ranch? Because I don't think she did. I want to say that maybe Adam helped her cover it up, because I think that Nikki and Victor knew that she did it, but it was never officially proven, which is kind of like what's going on right now with Sharon. People kind of know it, but it hasn't been officially proven yet. Man, never has Phyllis's tenaciousness come in so handy. Normally, her relentlessness can really nag on me. Nag on ya. But it is, I mean, it's exactly what is needed right now, because she is fighting for Daniel's life. She is fighting to prove his innocence, and she is fighting to prove Sharon's guilt. Phyllis knows that Sharon did it, and Sharon knows that Phyllis knows that Sharon did it. And that moment when everybody walked up to Heather's casket to lay down a rose, but by the time that Sharon got there was no roses left. And it seemed almost for a moment that it was going to be this sorrowful but fitting fate for Sharon, that Sharon would never be allowed to lay Heather to rest. She would never be able to have that closure, because the memory of what happened that night will always be haunting her. But then Phyllis showed up out of nowhere like a ghost, looked Sharon dead in the eye, and handed her the white rose. And it was just like, oh, mind blown. Like, honestly, that was the moment of the week within this story. That moment of the casket, just seeing that moment was incredible. And you know, Daniel asked Sharon not to come to the funeral, but Sharon fought it. It was just so bizarre, because can you even imagine being asked to not come to a funeral and then being like, no, I'm coming. I need this. And so Sharon did come, and I bet she wished she didn't, because Phyllis had her eye on Sharon the entire time. Phyllis probably set that trap at the casket. I mean, she probably intentionally made sure there was no roses, and she knew that she was gonna hand Sharon the rose and look her in the eye and create that moment. I mean, Phyllis said, there's no way Sharon's not going to come to this, and I'm going to set a trap for her. Last week, I totally misheard what Phyllis was saying in the previews. I thought she was saying that she was going to tell Sharon that she approved of what Sharon did, and she was kind of doing this reverse psychology thing. But actually what Phyllis said was that she's going to prove what Sharon did, which means she is going to set a trap. There's traps all over that place. Traps at the funeral, and then traps back at the athletic club, because as everyone gathered to share their memories of Heather, Phyllis saw that Sharon was starting to crack. I mean, Sharon was seeming like she was going to get physically ill, like she was going to just throw up, and she ran out of there. And Phyllis ran after her and begged her to just confess, begged her to just please save my son. But Sharon couldn't do it. Sharon knows that confessing would certainly be the end of her life, and she's fought too hard to give that up. She's not going to give up her life now. In fact, Sharon floated the idea to Nick that maybe she just needs to get a restraining order against Phyllis, to keep Phyllis from harassing her with these wild allegations. But Nick told Sharon that no, you don't want to do that, because that's just going to end up making you look guilty. Why don't you let me talk to Phyllis first? Yeah, like that's gonna work. I liked Heather a lot, but I will be the first to say Daniel and Heather did not have a legendary soap romance. They were not one of the greatest couples of all time, but I really connected with Daniel as he was standing over Heather's casket, and he was mourning her loss and mourning the life that he assumed they would have together. He pictured growing old together And he just never questioned that that future would become a reality. And he certainly never expected that his imagined future would be ripped away with such violence. And it's that violence that has spurred Daniel to take action, to find Heather's killer, not only to secure his own freedom, but to also avenge Heather's death. So, Y&R Chatters, how do we feel about that green screen funeral? That is the question I have to ask. Because there have been some good uses of green screen in recent history. There have been some bad uses of green screen in recent history. I think this worked. I do. I think it gave us a change of scenery. It was new. It was different visually. And you know, there's no better excuse than a funeral to get outside and enjoy the beautiful fall weather. Did you see the fall foliage in the background? Gorgeous day to be at the cemetery. My one and only teeny tiny little criticism about the setup was that I could hear Sharon's shoes clomping on the hard floor as she walked into the scene and right up to the casket, when, you know, in reality they would have been standing on dirt and grass. But it was a small detail that pulled me out. Like, I feel like the green screen worked, but, like, you know, you gotta still be aware of what's happening on the soundstage. And I'm like, am I hearing clompity clomp right now? We're outside in the grass. But all in all, I mean, I think it was a good use. It was definitely way less about Heather and way more about the drama, which, you know, gets my approval most certainly. Plus, Heather still got her giant portrait for the reception. And really, that is the highest honor that anyone could have in Soapland, right? I mean, there is only 2 ways to earn a giant portrait in Soapland. Number 1 is to become incredibly, wildly rich and successful. Or number 2 is to drop dead. Okay, I think I'm going to have an unpopular opinion here. But nevertheless, here's the thing. I do think that Billy and Sally have romantic potential. I do think they have chemistry together. But I can't help feeling like their whole relationship reeks of yesterday. And no amount of silly dad jokes is going to change that for me. It's like another one of these together by default situations, which Billy just got out of with Chelsea. I will say, Billy recounting the Jabot debacle was absolute gold. Just gold. I mean, that is one of the best Billy stories of all time. But that did not endear me to Billy and Sally. Same as Sally's food fight story, which I did see. I was watching Bold and the Beautiful at the time. I saw the food fight. It was fantastic. All the reasons why I fell in love with Sally. But that more reminded me of Sally. It did not endear me to Billy plus Sally as a couple. All it really did was remind me that these are 2 really spectacularly interesting characters who haven't been very spectacularly interesting lately. I mean, Billy used to be wild and fun, and yeah, the viewers were definitely clamoring for him to finally grow up. We had grown tired of his hijinks, but what fun is growing up? You know? I feel like these days all Billy is doing is trying to convince everybody that he has grown up, and it's all become so serious. Same with Sally. She's got nothing but failed businesses, failed relationships, miscarriage. It's just not spicy. I miss Jabot Billy, and I miss Sassy Sally. Like, I feel like I need to get reinvested in their individual characters before I can really truly get into their relationship on anything but a surface level. I mean, sure, I can watch it and go, you know, okay, there's a sexy time, but that's only going to last a day. You know, after the initial kisses and sexy times go by, you know, I don't think it's going to keep my interest. I think both Billy and Sally need a rebound period for one. I think Billy needs to cut loose with Phyllis one of these days, and I have decided that I think I really want to see Sally paired with Daniel. I think Sally and Daniel would make a very fun, fresh, funky, offbeat couple with no prior baggage going on between them. And yeah, I know, Daniel just, you know, is grieving the loss of his murdered mate right now, but what better time to get lost in grief sex? Finally, Diane is showing some signs that maybe she's working with someone on a larger plan, and all is not as it seems. Okay, so correct me if I am wrong here, but Diane went to Victor and asked Victor to fire Kyle and hire her. And then in response, Victor told Kyle to stop working on Glissade altogether because Diane is planning to sue over the fact that he stole the product, or allegedly stole the product. And then Diane's response to Victor was to go to him and threaten to really sue him. Is that right? I guess I got a little lost on that plot. And then I guess when it didn't work out and Victor didn't just fire Kyle and hire her, then she on Thursday made a phone call to someone saying that their plan's not working out. Well, now the obvious person on the other end of the line would be Jack, and that's what I'm probably hoping for. But, you know, what if there was a twisty twist? What if it was Tucker? You know, wouldn't that be a good surprise if maybe Diane was working with Tucker to get Glissade back? I mean, it was his company that was stolen from him. He might have some vested interest in that. Or who knows, maybe Audra and Diane have a secret alliance and then they're working together to get Glissade back. Well, I mean, I don't know. Either way, the first goal seems to be to get Kyle out. And maybe it is working a little because Victor does seem to be questioning Kyle's loyalty. Like every time Kyle mentions Jack and Diane, mom and dad, Victor gives him, you know, kind of a look like, okay, which makes sense. I mean, yeah, I probably wouldn't put too much stock in Kyle's loyalty because if he's willing to backstab his own family, then he is most certainly willing to backstab you. And I wonder if Victor will have hit his final straw when Kyle shows up to Abby's wedding with granddaughter number 2 on his arm, Claire, while granddaughter number 1, Summer, is scowling at them from the corner. This week, Kyle and Claire took the Halloween party upstairs. up to Kyle's nondescript bedroom. Brown, 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 brown. Brown. Sexy, sexy brown. With abstract paintings on the wall and no personality in the room whatsoever. I don't know, somehow I pictured Kyle's bedroom looking similar to Harrison's. Maybe with some baseball team flags on the wall. Maybe some pictures of dogs on the wall. Throw in a dinosaur or two. No. Just abstract brown. I cannot complain about sets this week. No, Allie. Be grateful for what you have. Well, the makeout session between Kyle and Claire did not last very long because Summer left her phone at the Abbott mansion after having a really great bonding night with Kyle. So she realizes she doesn't have her phone. She comes back to the mansion. She walks through the door. She notices that Kyle is gone from the main room. But Claire's purse is sitting in Dina's death chair. And Summer said, "Oh, hell no! I am going to ruin this." Correct response, Summer. Correct. So Summer shouts up the stairs, and honestly, I was hoping that she would march up the stairs and get real nosy and open the door. That would have been so inappropriate, but so soapy and scandalous. I mean, you know, hey, my favorite Halloween candy is drama, so that's what I was hoping for, but no. Kyle heard Summer calling, and so he leaves Claire in bed and comes downstairs with his shirt all unbuttoned. He's standing there like trying to find out what Summer's hollering about, and it's like nothing but chest for days. I don't understand. Why is it that Kyle was the only one with the unbuttoned shirt? You mean to tell me that Kyle, during all of the throes of romance, Kyle got his shirt unbuttoned, but she didn't? Like, that is bunk. Bunkity bunk bunk. I don't think so. Like, I mean, Kyle's got a lot of restraint with Claire, but that doesn't track for any man on earth. He let his shirt get unbuttoned and then he didn't return it in kind? No, that is Y&R. Preserving Claire's modesty. And that in itself, honestly, is like so much, like a big well of anticipation. I mean, I think that the Y&R fans are gonna hit the roof when we finally do see Claire in her bra. Oh, hey, Nate, I just so happen to have a lock of your brother's hair. That's not weird or anything. I mean, I guess maybe moms keep locks of babies' hair. Maybe that is a thing. I don't know. I didn't. I think it's weird that she was like, here's a lock of his hair. So this week, Nate and Amy had another meeting because Amy really needed to explain herself further before Nate was going to agree to help her find Damien. Last week, Nate had placed a phone call to Olivia to try to get some more information around this woman, and I don't know what Olivia said to him, but it must have been a warning to proceed with caution because he was cautious. So Nate asked Amy to explain herself and tell her story, and the story is her husband, the man who Damien thought was his father, died when Damien was a teen, and that just impacted him so heavily that he was never the same. Suddenly, this very bright kid became a problem child, very despondent. He was fighting with his mom constantly, and one day he just left. and never came back. And now Amy is dying, and she doesn't want her only son to be left alone in this world, even though that seems to be the way that he prefers it. I mean, really, I think that Amy is just wanting this for herself so that she can die in peace, because it sounds like Damien wants to be left alone. And I really don't see how finding out that he's been lied to his whole life and that he's not even who he thought he was, I don't see how anything's going to, how is that going to make anything better? In fact, I think it's going to make it worse. I think Damien is going to, after finding all of this out, have a really big chip on his shoulder. A really big chip on his sexy shoulder. That's what I think. And then Amy's going to be gone, and Nate's going to be stuck sweeping up the crumbs. I don't know, maybe Mercury is in retrograde. I've heard that phrase used before as a way to kind of describe, things are kind of screwy, maybe Mercury's in retrograde. I think it's sort of an astrological, astrological or it's an astrological term for when things just go haywire. And Sally Spectra last week said that to Audra, trying to explain Audra's string of bad luck. Maybe Mercury's in retrograde. Duh. Well, congratulations, Daisy, Paris, Nancy, Wonderful Wendy, Kayla Rose, Dolores, Sue W., Henry, T. Nicole, Justin, Brittany, Brent, and Kamna. You guys all heard it. And by the way, I did look it up, and Mercury will be in retrograde November 25th to December 15th. So if anything is funky, December 25th through December 15th, November 25th to December 15th, that's why. Oh, pish posh. That's our quote for this week. Oh, pish posh. Y&R Chatters, that is the lamest, most uncool thing to say. That is the uncoolest thing that has ever been said on this show. Oh, pish posh. Who said that? I know you know. Go to yrchat.com and leave your guess. And if you do get it right, then I will give you your shout out during next week's Y&R Chat. Okay, well, speaking of Nate, I asked you guys last week if you were excited by this development that he has a brother. I'm kind of surprised because it was a 55% said, sure, I'm excited. Why not? And 45% said, no, not really. So, I don't know. I'm always excited for a new character. I definitely voted yes. And maybe it's because I like Nate. And, well, more than like. And I wonder if maybe, does this speak to the audience's interest in Nate? Are people not as interested in the brother because they're not as interested in Nate? I don't know. Sue W says, new character? Sure. One who's Nate's brother? Who cares? I can't see amazing storyline potential drawing from Nate's background, so in my opinion, that history is immaterial. Other than beefing up the family, I guess. Both literally and figuratively, beefing up the family. Nailed it. Sue W, that really is the main draw for me, beefing up the family. But I will say, Daisy says, I would love it if Damien had decided to honor his father's dream for him and returned to medicine. He's now a resident at Genoa City Memorial Hospital, and he has met and is now dating Elena. If this happened, then yes, Nate would absolutely find his brother. Oh, see, I love this, Daisy, and I was thinking the same thing, that maybe Y&R was trying to give us a new doctor. I mean, because they put that in there as part of the backstory for this Damien character, and you just took it like to a whole nother level by saying, well, what if he's dating Elena? What if Damien is here in town, right under our nose? He went ahead and got his doctor's medical, he got his medical degree, and he's working at Genoa City Memorial already, and he's dating with Elena, and he's dating Elena, and that would really, don't you think that would tick Nate off a little bit, or there'd be a little bit of plot to accompany the new character onto the scene? I think that's a really good idea, and I hope Y&R has a solid plan for this new character, and it doesn't just waffle out. Oh my goodness. New topic. Calmness says, I'm confused. Why hasn't it come out that Lily gave Victor the information about the Odyssey Company? Is this a blip in the writing, or will it be a major plot point later? Lily omitted this info when speaking with Jill, and Billy hasn't questioned or called her out on it. I'm not liking Lily right now, and I can't wait for her to get what's coming to her. Yeah, Kamna, that's a really good question. So Lily was the one that blew that big deal that Jill was hoping to get, and she never mentioned it, Billy never mentioned it, and she's just kind of skating away scot-free on that. Billy was even begging her to come back to Chancellor Abbott this week. Of course, it was at Jill's behest. But on the larger scale, I just feel totally uninterested in Lily. I feel totally uninterested in Chancellor Abbott. But next week, in the previews, Jill is confronting Victor. Yes, that is exactly what I need to happen. That is what needs to happen so that we can just resolve this whole imaginary battle over this company once and for all. Oh, Michelle says, thank you, writers, for allowing Billy to retell the Jabot story. It never gets old. And Tony says, I love Jabot. It could have been a classic that they used in storylines like the Newman Jet. Yeah. I think this is a really interesting example, Jabot, because we never saw Jabot. I mean, it was simply a well-painted picture in our minds, and that's really powerful storytelling. That's all it took. There was no additional set needed, nothing. Just the idea that there was a Jabot, followed by the loss of the Jabot. I mean, it's incredibly that people across the board remember and love. It's funny. It was just a funny idea that got woven into the script with a plot twist at the end, and then boom, how it's so memorable. So that was well done, and I agree. Oh, Russell says, here's a prediction. When Martin and Allan fell from the balcony, Allan was killed and Martin took his place. He has been wooing Tracy, and wait, aren't they living together at the Abbott house? Anyway, when Ashley gets home, Martin, posing as Allan, will start to torment her again. I don't know how crazy it'll get, but I'm sure Tracy and Ashley will be in trouble together. Maybe a kidnapping or a hostage situation, but I feel pretty sure that it's not Allan. I think we're going to find out, right? Tracy and Allan solidified the fact that they're going to be moving in together this week. They kissed on it, and Ashley's coming home next week. We saw that in the previews. So we've definitely been wondering about the Allan Martin thing for a while, and is he not? Is there a twin twist happening here? And with Ashley coming back next week, maybe we're finally going to get some answers. Russell, by the way, hero of the week. You are sleuthing out the whole Paramount Plus issue that's been driving me crazy. Russell says, I have the same issue. The scenes are out of order, or some scenes are missing. And I compared Paramount Plus to YouTube TV, and it's showing correctly on YouTube TV. So I contacted Paramount Plus today and gave them the season, the episode, the timestamp examples, and they said they hadn't heard of this issue and they'd escalate the ticket. And And then update, Paramount Plus responded to my ticket that they're working on it, and here's what they said. Thank you for responding to us. Again, we apologize for any inconvenience and are eager to help. They're eager to help. We have an update and report on your current issue. Issues concerning the series The Young and the Restless and The Bold and the Beautiful and the related content are currently under investigation. We'll continue working to get your issue resolved, and we'll ask that you attempt to access the content one more time after a short time. Note, this issue is not unique to your account or device. When possible, please sign out of the app and refresh your network before your next streaming session. Russell, I am so grateful that you actually took the lead on this, because I cannot see myself dialing a phone to call Paramount Plus. But maybe it was a chat or an email ticket or something. But so you got to the truth of the matter, that it's happening, and not only that, but you let them know, and they now are actually working on it. So I am so pleased and grateful to you for making that phone call, because a couple other people did come to Y&R Chat and say, hey, I'm having that issue too. So I'm just really so glad that you're doing it. And I have to say, this is a pretty good response from them, right? Like their work, they did it. So it sounds like you found the episodes that were in question, and now they're going to have you reload it and show it again, and hopefully and see if it's fixed. And then hopefully whatever in the heck is happening on the back end will get fixed. I can't imagine what it is. I would think there would be one edit of all streaming. I can see it being different for the live broadcast shows, but you'd think there'd just be a file, upload The Young and the Restless .mp4, and then boom. But I don't know. Good job, Russell. Thank you. Let's talk about the ranch. Nicole says, I usually watch Y&R while doing dishes and clean up after my son goes to bed. But I got to watch Friday's show of the ranch reveal and the old flashbacks for the first time in a long time, curled up on the couch with a candle on and the fireplace lit. It was the perfect episode to watch feeling all cozy. Yay! You're so right. That's the perfect cozy episode. And I knew it was coming too, and I was like, okay, Friday's gonna be big, so I'm gonna make sure my attention is fully there. My fingers need to be ready for all these screen caps. And yes, I'm so glad you got to relax and watch the episode, especially after all the dinosaur Halloween hijinks. Oh, Connie says this was a fun day for all viewers whenever you started watching. This episode had old, new, and future ranch stories to enjoy. The flashback milestones in the story, the beauty of the characters, the soapy drama, and the love amongst the families keeps us engaged and entertained. This was perfect for me. I started watching in time to see the ranch shortly before it burned, but none of the early days of Victor and Nikki. The flashbacks were so exquisite with over-the-top decor, design, wardrobe, hair, and makeup. They retold a great love story, and this one will remain a Y&R classic moment. What a great lead-up to the episode celebrations. Connie, this is the perfect comment. Thank you. That was beautiful. And also, speaking of beautiful, I love, and I've seen a couple times, the flashback where I don't know what was going on with Nikki and Victor, but it seemed like they were kind of reuniting, but whatever, blah, blah, blah. She's standing there in a freaking full-length white fur coat, diamond earrings, and they are just like hugging, and like her tears are filled, and she said, why can't it always be like this? I don't know. That scene is so gorgeous. I got two screen caps of the white fur coat if you want to go see that. And also like that crazy Marie Antoinette feather getup. And I mean the wedding dress. I don't think I had seen, not even recently, them coming back to the ranch after the wedding. We've seen the first Nikki and Victor wedding, but we saw them come into the ranch afterwards. So yeah, and you know, and that Marie Antoinette, that had to be their first kiss, you know, because she was saying she was worried that he didn't want to kiss her. That was so beautiful. And you know, and the thing is like the ranch wasn't the star of those scenes. It's just that quiet, subtle, stable background that makes all the difference. Oh, Gary says, feels like this new house has been normalized and accepted by everyone too quickly. The replacement is a mind-numbing shocker. It's a turn back in time. Nikki might want to let heading chancellor go to the back and start serving tea and charity work. I do think the house is a wonderful respite for her after the terror of Aunt Jordan. Nikki said herself that she's not been this happy for a long time, but Nikki getting her old house back should bring closing peace to her. Well, you know, this is why I want that poll question out there this week, too. Because, you know, it's real easy. It would be easy to just lush all over every single detail of the ranch and this change. And so much of it is wonderful. But I'm curious to know if there's anybody out there that's like, I'm not ready for this. Or, you know, anything like that. So feel free to leave those comments this week, too. Well, Stephen asks the nagging question on all of our minds. Does the new ranch include a dungeon? I mean, he did build it in secret, so you would think. Oh, and if Adam or anyone else takes over the old ranch, will they find or be given keys to the old lockup? A little careful digging might unearth a trove of blackmail material. Yeah. Yes, I know, right? You might not want to give anybody the keys to that old ranch. That'd be like giving them the keys to your freedom. Hey, quick birthday shout out to Colleen, whose birthday's on Wednesday. Can you believe that Victor rebuilt the ranch for your birthday? Colleen, that has got to be the most wonderful gift that Victor could have given you. Oh, happy birthday, Colleen. How about this comment from Dolores, who says Diane has a fiery confrontation with Kyle after one after the other with Nikki and Victor. None of these encounters go well or as expected, leading her to make an urgent telephone call. I think this call is the beginning of the proof that Jack and Diane had strategized to stop Victor and rescue Kyle from his grasp and save the company. Jabot, as well as the Abbott family. Oh, save the company, Jabot, and the Abbott family. All of this began with a plan to gaslight the fine citizens of Genoa City that there is trouble in their marriage, and the new Diane was really the old Diane. I feel this call is to inform as well as amend the damages, regroup, and find a way to continue their efforts to best Victor at his game and come out on top. It appears that conning Victor is not as easy as they thought it would be. Things are going to get more interesting. I foresee that the unemployed/fired Audra is finally going to play a huge part eventually in the master plan. How? It's going to be fun to see how and when. Yeah, Dolores, I know. Because it would be kind of easy just to be like, okay, well, it was just Jack and Diane's plan. But I think it would be really fun if Audra was somehow in on it, too. I'm just happy that the turn came, because I didn't want to believe everything that was coming out of Diane's mouth for the last couple weeks. Oh, Daisy says, I initially thought Tucker might have been talking to Diane, but I'm not so sure that he'd be involved in anything nefarious this close to his son's wedding. He may return, but I think it would be to begin mending fences with Devon and to see his grandson. Now I'm wondering if Diane was on the phone with Audra. Audra wants Glissade back. So what better way to try to get it back than by putting someone on the inside who will help her? It makes no sense to me that Diane would believe Victor would go along with her Fire Kyle scheme, but Audra doesn't really know Victor, so maybe it's her. Yeah, I still like the idea of it being Tucker, though, too, because in the preview for next week, we saw that I'm assuming Yolanda/Harmony whatever, I can't remember what name we settled on for her, and Anna maybe are coming back for Devon's wedding, so it would almost kind of make sense if Tucker was there and wanting to come back, and who knows, maybe wanting to, I mean, who knows for what reason. Tucker is mostly interested in himself. I don't think that he would stop a plan to get Glissade back just for Devon. So if Devon doesn't, you know what, wouldn't that be a nice little surprise for the wedding if Tucker was the one that came back and was working with Diane and Jack? I don't know. We'll see. I don't know how much of next week's show is going to be devoted to the wedding and how much of it's going to be our previous plots, but I really, truly cannot wait to see how things are going to pan out with Sharon. Steven says, why is Phyllis confronting Sharon instead of using her considerable IT skills? She knows Sharon killed Heather. Sharon's the last one to see Heather alive when Daniel and Lucy were at the movies. There's no CCTV in the staircase or the building, but there is some somewhere. Maybe Sharon's car has a car phone, or she had her cell phone with her. Does it have the same software, which disguises the GPS coordinates? Start hacking! Sift out the truth from the contradictions in Sharon's story, then show how alluring you look, even in just a rumpled beige raincoat, white shirt, and a thin black tie. Give Sharon a performance worthy of Columbo. Just one more thing. Stephen dangity dang do. First up, love Columbo. Freaking love Columbo. Second up, yeah, why isn't Phyllis hacking around town to get this answer? Why are you relying on hoping Sharon's just gonna confess? Get out there and do some hacking. Great comment. Oh, I like this too. Brent says, has Chance even checked out Daniel and Lucy's seemingly airtight alibi? Sure, he can defuse a bomb without Googling when necessary, but he seems to lack the basic sleuthing skills. Sure, he can defuse a bomb, but can he check Daniel and Lucy's alibi? Nah. I know there's a ton of holes in this plot, and they're fine. They're flying out of my head. I'm just so in for the drama. I don't think I've paid attention to half of the plot keys. I think my sleuthing skills need some work. Final comment from Victoria, who says, I know Crimson Lights must make a great cup of coffee, but shouldn't Daniel be going someplace else for his coffee? I'm sure Society makes a great cup and doesn't offer Sharon in the background. If Daniel truly wanted to avoid Sharon, he would go elsewhere for his daily brew. Yeah. I mean, dang, Daniel and Phyllis and Christine all think that Sharon could be capable of murder, but she's also capable of making a killer cappuccino. So, okay, everybody, that is the end. For me, anyway. I think it's your turn. I've said a lot. It's you guys gotta let it rip. There's a lot that happened this week, and I need to know what you think about it. So, if you haven't already, go to yrchat.com to leave your comments, and I will see you again next Sunday. I love you guys. Have a good week. Bye.